No one teaches us how to talk about sex, so we sit in silence and fear. Bell hooks. Before we begin, here's a small ritual. Write in the comments one word that accurately describes your current state. Sign it, and let's get started. There's a kind of silence in people today, a strange one. It looks like calm, like control, like freedom. But under that mask, a storm, a constant quiet panic, a body that doesn't feel safe, a heart that's afraid to open, a mind that's always on guard. It's not about war or poverty, not about outer chaos. It's about what happens in the most intimate space, between two people. It's about sex, but not the act itself. It's about the anxiety around it, the shame, the overthinking, the need to perform, the fear of not being enough, the fear of being too much, the fear of not feeling anything at all. This is the new sickness of the 21st century, sexual anxiety, and it spreads not through blood, but through screens, through endless scrolling, through filtered bodies, through artificial pleasure, through algorithms that know your cravings better than you do. Once, desire was sacred. Now, it's a commodity. Once, touch meant connection. Now, it often means transaction. People look at each other but don't see, touch each other but don't feel, speak but don't hear. Bodies are together, but souls remain locked away. This anxiety isn't loud. It doesn't scream. It whispers, in late-night doubts, in the silence after sex, in the shame that lingers when no one's watching, in the numbness where there used to be fire, in the way we pretend we're fine, while something inside us is quietly dying. And the system loves this silence. It profits from it. It feeds it. Social media shows us perfection. Dating apps give us illusions of choice. Porn provides endless novelty. And yet, we're starving. Not for sex, but for presence, for truth, for real closeness. Sexual anxiety is not a personal failure. It's a cultural symptom. It's what happens when dopamine becomes the god of connection, when instant pleasure replaces slow intimacy, when image wins over essence. This isn't a motivational speech. It's a mirror. It shows us how far we've drifted from ourselves, how we've confused freedom with numbness, how we've allowed noise to replace real desire. This anxiety won't go away with more sex, or with more partners, or with better techniques. It will only dissolve when we stop running, when we start listening to our bodies, to our breath, to our buried hunger to be real again. Because sexual anxiety isn't about sex at all. It's about the loss of safety, the loss of honesty, the loss of connection. And behind all that, the loss of love. Not romantic love, but the love that happens when you truly meet someone, without roles, without masks, without fear. This is not a crisis of desire. It's a crisis of depth. And it's time to go deeper. Modern culture has mastered the art of shallow pleasure. Everywhere you turn, there's instant access to stimulation. Scroll, swipe, tap. It's always available, always easy. Pleasure has become like fast food. Quick, cheap, and empty. We've built an entire digital ecosystem designed to hijack the reward system of the human brain. And it works. The brain lights up. Dopamine floods the system. But this isn't joy. This is a chemical reaction. Fast, addictive, and ultimately hollow. The more we chase it, the more it slips away. Real satisfaction gets buried under the weight of repetition and overload. Social media trains us to crave validation. One picture, one post, one like, and suddenly, our nervous system is activated. We start to live not in our own bodies, but in a projected image of who we should be. We filter our flaws. We curate our personas. We build a mask that becomes more real than the face underneath. And this mask comes with a cost. Every time we look at ourselves through a digital lens, we step a little further away from our truth. We begin to believe that our worth is measured in attention, that our desirability is a product, that intimacy is performance. Porn amplifies this distortion. It's not just about sex anymore. It's about conditioning, training the brain to respond only to visual novelty, to separation from the body, to the fantasy of control. The more we consume, the more disconnected we become. It rewires the mind to expect intensity, but not intimacy. It builds tolerance to the very thing that used to move us. Over time, desire becomes mechanical. Touch becomes dull. The person in front of us feels less exciting than a screen. We lose the ability to be present with what is, because we've been programmed to chase what's next. This is how sexual anxiety begins, not with trauma, but with overstimulation, not with rejection, but with disconnection. The body starts to react. The nervous system stays in fight or flight. Restlessness creeps in. Concentration fades. Pleasure becomes tension. Even in moments that should feel good, something feels off. There's an invisible wall between the experience and the feeling. The body is there, but the soul isn't. It's been numbed out by years of compulsive stimulation and surface-level interactions. Science backs this up. Chronic dopamine flooding leads to receptor desensitization. The more you chase easy pleasure, the harder it becomes to feel anything at all. Emotional regulation suffers. Motivation drops. Energy declines. The nervous system gets stuck in a loop of craving and disappointment. The brain becomes addicted not to satisfaction, but to the anticipation of it. It's not the reward itself, it's the chase that hooks us. And when the chase ends, there's a crash, emptiness, shame, silence. This loop is everywhere. On the subway, in bed, in the middle of conversations. People scroll instead of feeling, watch instead of touching, fantasize instead of connecting. We've created a generation that knows everything about sex, but feels nothing inside it. We've made the body a tool and the heart a burden. We've confused stimulation with intimacy, and in doing so, we've created a deep, quiet ache. The ache of wanting to be close, but not knowing how. Because no matter how many swipes or screens or bodies we collect, the core hunger remains the same. We want to be felt, seen, held. We want the kind of presence that can't be bought or downloaded, the kind that takes time, risk, honesty, vulnerability. And nothing in this system teaches us how to do that. It only teaches us how to escape. But what we run from doesn't disappear. It waits, grows, builds tension in the body, and eventually that pressure shows up as anxiety. Not random, not meaningless, but as a signal, a sign that something inside us is still alive, still reaching for depth in a world that forgot what it means to feel. The modern man stands in the middle of a paradox, surrounded by a world that shouts about masculinity, performance, dominance, and yet quietly stripped of his inner stability. He has access to everything: bodies, apps, advice, tools, images. But he's never been more confused, more disconnected from his own strength. He scrolls through illusions of conquest, but inside feels smaller and more distant than ever. Because behind the mask of control, there's fear. Not the kind of fear that screams, the kind that freezes. fear of rejection, fear of being soft, fear of not knowing what to do when real intimacy shows up. Masculinity today is no longer grounded in presence. It's built on anxiety, urgency, performance. The system tells him to be a provider, a protector, a winner, but also to be sensitive, vulnerable, emotionally available. These aren't contradictions. They're human qualities. But when they're delivered as demands instead of invitations, they become pressure points. He tries to be everything and ends up being nothing, numb, tired, split in half between who he thinks he should be and who he really is. And in this split, sexual anxiety finds fertile ground. Biologically, the male body responds directly to stress. When the nervous system is overloaded, arousal shuts down, testosterone drops, cortisol rises. Porn seems like a solution, instant, simple, without emotional risk. But it's a trap, because every session conditions his brain to associate sex with detachment. Over time, even real-life connection feels foreign. He might want closeness, but the body has been trained to fear it. Erection becomes struggle, desire becomes pressure, and shame settles in. Quiet, corrosive, relentless. He may joke about it, laugh it off, pretend it doesn't matter, but deep down, the pain is real. The silence after failure, the avoidance of intimacy, the way he pulls back, the moment something real starts to open. And he doesn't always understand why. It's not that he doesn't care, it's that he doesn't trust his body anymore, doesn't feel at home in his own skin. And in a culture that rewards image over truth, no one teaches him how to return to himself. This isn't weakness. This is the result of emotional starvation, of a life lived outside the body, of years spent trying to dominate instead of connect. But the truth is, the body doesn't want to dominate. It wants to feel. It wants to trust. It wants to release the armor and be met without fear. And that's the deepest wound in the modern man. He's been armored for so long, he's forgotten how to be touched without breaking. The modern woman lives in a body that's been watched, judged, sold, admired, and used, often more than it's been loved. She has learned to protect herself early, to read danger in silence, to sense manipulation in smiles. And because of that, a deep armor has grown around her sensuality. Not coldness, protection. Not lack of desire, lack of safety. She still feels, still longs, still remembers the taste of intimacy. But her body doesn't open easily anymore. It waits. It scans. It hesitates. Because too many times, it was entered without being met, touched without being seen, desired without being understood. She has been told to be sexy, but not too much, to want, but not to need, to give, but not to ask. This tightrope is exhausting. It teaches her to fragment herself, to separate her erotic self from her emotional self, to perform femininity instead of living it. And in that split, sexual anxiety quietly takes root. She may appear confident, even radiant, but inside, there's tension. The mind races, the body clenches. What should be soft becomes guarded. What should be free becomes calculated. Even in moments of intimacy, there's a part of her that never fully lands. Her desire is real. Her passion is deep. But without emotional safety, they stay locked. It's not about being cold. It's about not feeling safe enough to melt. She's not afraid of sex. She's afraid of disappearing inside someone who can't hold the weight of her being. She doesn't want to be worshipped. She wants to be met. And yet, the world keeps offering her mirrors of distortion. Glossy images, filtered bodies, empty gestures masked as connection. It tells her how to be desirable, but never how to be deeply seen. Over time, this creates a kind of internal shutdown, not always visible. She may keep smiling, performing, showing up, but inside, something retracts. Her sensuality starts to feel distant, sometimes even foreign. She may crave touch, but flinch when it arrives, may feel numb in situations that once made her pulse race, may pretend to enjoy what actually makes her disappear. This isn't dysfunction. This is the body protecting itself. This is intelligence, born from pain. And the tragedy is that many women believe this is just how it is now. That numbness is normal. That shallow connection is all there is. But something inside her remembers. A time when closeness felt safe, when the body was not a battleground, when surrender was possible. That memory never leaves. It waits beneath the armor, quiet and steady. And it knows trust is not a fantasy. It's a need, one she can no longer pretend to live without. Sexual anxiety isn't a random condition. It's not a private flaw or a personal weakness. It's a collective symptom of the era we live in, a mirror held up to the spiritual and emotional poverty of modern life. Across the world, reports of sexual dysfunction, anorgasmia, lack of desire, and relationship breakdowns are rising fast, not just in older generations, but in the youngest ones, those who've grown up inside the digital matrix, where bodies are consumed like content and emotions are filtered through algorithms. Behind closed doors, people feel more pressure than pleasure. In therapy rooms, the stories repeat. I can't relax. I can't feel. I don't want it. I want it too much. I'm scared of touch. I can't connect. What we're witnessing is not a decrease in sexual availability, but in sexual aliveness. The body hasn't stopped working. It's gone into hiding because the world has become too fast, too loud, too artificial for intimacy to root itself. People feel watched but not witnessed, desired but not valued, surrounded but deeply alone. And in this environment, anxiety blooms. It begins as doubt, grows into tension, and solidifies into a constant internal hum. Always there, beneath the surface, draining life from what should be the most alive moments of all. This isn't just psychological. It's neurological, hormonal, physiological. Chronic stress alters brain chemistry. Excessive screen time shifts attention patterns. Dopamine burnout flattens pleasure response. Sleep is disrupted. Energy tanks. Libido crashes. The nervous system, overwhelmed and undernourished, no longer knows how to rest into safety. And when there's no safety, there can be no true arousal. Arousal doesn't come from performance. It comes from presence, from feeling grounded in the body, from knowing that touch doesn't mean danger, that closeness doesn't mean loss. What we've created is a culture where sex is everywhere, except in the heart, where everything is shown but nothing is felt, where we are exposed but not intimate, stimulated but not satisfied. And in that gap, sexual anxiety takes root. It doesn't scream, it whispers, in headaches and heaviness, in numbness and overthinking, in avoiding eye contact, in faking desire, in staying silent during moments that once felt sacred. This is not a small issue. It's not about fixing libido or improving technique. It's about healing something much deeper, the rupture between body and soul, between desire and safety, between image and truth. Because at the core of sexual anxiety is not brokenness, it's longing, a deep, ancient longing to come home, to be felt again, to be touched by something real. And no system, no screen, no algorithm can ever give that back. Only we can. By choosing depth over speed, presence over performance, truth over appearance, and love, not the fantasy, but the practice, over fear. Healing from sexual anxiety is not about trying harder, performing better, or pretending more. It begins by unlearning, by slowing down, by stepping out of the cycle of stimulation and silence. The nervous system needs time to feel safe again. The body needs to be reintroduced to itself, not as a machine for pleasure, but as a place of presence. The first step is honesty, to admit the disconnection, to name the fear, to recognize the moments when the body tightens, when the breath shortens, when the touch feels like pressure instead of invitation. This awareness is not weakness. It's the beginning of return. Letting go of porn is not just about morality. It's about nervous system repair. The brain, when overstimulated, loses its sensitivity to real-life connection. Pleasure becomes something that only happens through screens, through novelty, through separation. But when the stimuli stop, the brain begins to reset. The first weeks may feel dull, even lifeless, but slowly, a new kind of sensitivity begins to emerge. The kind that doesn't crave intensity, but depth. The kind that doesn't chase, but feels. This process requires commitment, not discipline in the harsh sense, but devotion to self-respect. Digital detox is just as vital. Constant scrolling hijacks attention and erodes presence. Turning off the noise allows the body to remember slowness. It makes space for boredom, which is where real creativity, real desire begins. Reconnection doesn't happen in speed. It happens in the quiet moments, in the uncomfortable stillness, in the awkward, real-life interactions that can't be edited. That's where intimacy lives, not in the highlight reel, but in the rawness of being fully seen. Daily body practices help rebuild this connection. Movement that's slow and conscious. Touch that's exploratory, not goal-driven. Breathing that brings awareness into the belly, the chest, the spine. Not to perform or fix anything, but to feel what's already there. The body starts to thaw. Sensation returns, not always as pleasure at first, sometimes as grief, as anger, as tension that's been held too long. But all of it is welcome. All of it is part of coming home. Building real relationships takes patience. It means choosing quality over quantity, letting go of the performance, allowing silence, being honest when you don't know what you feel, being present even when it's messy. It's in those moments that healing happens, when someone sees you not as a fantasy, but as a human, and when you begin to see yourself the same way, not perfect, not always ready, but here, willing, real, and slowly, anxiety loses its grip, because truth is the safest place we can rest in. There's one tool that works deeper than willpower, stricter than discipline, and more healing than any rule. It's embodiment. Not the idea of it, not theory, but the actual living experience of being inside your body, fully, here and now. Every time you bring attention to your breath, every time you feel the ground under your feet, every time you slow down and actually notice the sensations in your chest, your belly, your skin, you break the trance of speed, of fantasy, of performance. Porn loses power not because you fight it, but because you come back to real life and real sensation. This is the most powerful medicine. When you're embodied, you're no longer chasing images, you're feeling. You're with what's real. And that reality, even if it's uncomfortable at first, is where true healing begins. No fantasy, no screen, No digital pleasure can compare to the experience of being deeply present in your own body. It's not about rejecting pleasure. It's about reclaiming it on your own terms, from a place of connection, not craving. Start today. Set aside 10 minutes. Sit in silence. Put one hand on your heart, the other on your belly. Breathe slowly. Feel what's alive. Not what you wish to feel, but what's already here. Maybe it's tightness. Maybe it's stillness. Maybe it's heat or sadness. Stay with it. This simple practice, done daily, rewires the system. It teaches the body that it's safe to feel again, safe to want, safe to not want, safe to be. Freedom from sexual anxiety, from addiction, from numbness. It's not found in control. It's found in presence. And presence is always available, even now, even here, in this breath, in this body. You don't need to be fixed. You just need to return. We're sure you've discovered plenty of value, so subscribe now and stay connected.